Production of Immense Possibilities is made possible by the generous support of the Earth and Humanity Foundation, Wendy Selden, Rogue Co-ops, a community-centered collaboration among the Ashland Food Co-op, the Grange Co-op, Rogue Credit Union, and the Medford Food Co-op, Cliff Bar and Company, Elizabeth York, and these additional members of the Immense Possibilities Community Builders Circle.
They really matter. They're so much more than a dollar sign. They're that comforting voice that reads stories at the end of the night. They are the person that picks them up when they're hurt.
It changed me, you know.
How?
It emotionally changed me. It made me love something more than I love myself.
Just because people make bad decisions in their lives, I don't think it's right to strip them of their children or the children from their parents.
And you cause this immense amount of pain by ripping their child away from them and say, hey, now you gotta get clean and stop using drugs. It's an unrealistic expectation.
You have to be there for your child. You can't just up and leave whenever you damn well please.
Welcome to our weekly visit with people who are creating immense possibilities for healthy communities and solutions to all kinds of challenges. One ongoing and brutal community challenge screams out to us in a set of grim statistics. 15 million American children aged 1 to 3 are growing up without a father. Well, what comes out of that? Among other things, 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes, 80% of children who do poorly in school are growing up without a dad, and 95% of men in prison, that's 19 men out of 20, grew up without a dad. It is a little hard to build healthy community under a shadow that large. One more statistic closely related to the others, an estimated 1 out of 15 American males now fathers a child while he's still a teenager. One of them is Bryce, an 18-year-old who has a 2-year-old son, who drew national attention for his candor and clarity on YouTube.
Well, what it's like to be a teen dad is basically simple, but also really hard. You just have to understand what all your baby likes and dislikes, and you have to understand the emotions that your baby goes through. That's one of my biggest challenges, is trying not to get frustrated, because I'll be ready for a nap. I'll be basically sacked out, either whether it's during the day when I need a nap or even when it just comes to sleep at night and I have the baby. It's hard. You have to know how to have that emotional stability to say, look, you need to not be frustrated with your baby. You need to know that if you get frustrated, your baby is going to get frustrated. Every single time a dad leaves, your family's crushed. You can't just think of yourself anymore. You're responsible. You have to grow up. You have to be there for your child. You can't just up and leave whenever you damn well please.
Very easy to say, but if memory serves, putting others before yourself is a real challenge when you're a teenager. That's where our guests come in. They are Shane Soward, who began a Portland area program called Squires, and Devin Thompson, a teen dad he works with in the program. Shane and Devin, welcome to Immense Possibilities. It's really good to have you here.
Thank you.
We're very glad to be here.
Shane, tell us what Squires is all about.
Squires is a mentoring program for teen fathers to encourage teen fathers to not only provide financially, but emotionally and physically for their children. We just create a relationship first, kind of open up that door. So if a young man has a question about how to soothe a child at night, or feeding, or even just what does secondary education look like, they can come back and they have a safe place to ask those questions, someone that's not going to judge them, and someone that's always encouraging them to, in co-parenting, and providing financially, and just more than anything, letting these young fathers know that they matter.
Now, you started this on your own pretty much, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, why?
Well, essentially, I was a teen father. I became a father when I was 15 years old. And when I was 17, I finally got noticed. Someone in my community came alongside me and offered to mentor me. And it changed my family tree. It changed my life. And so here I am 20 years later saying that really made an impact, and there should be more programs like that.
Now, you were an active father from 15. You stayed with as an active father, and then in a couple of years started getting some help and support for it?
Yeah. So I was committed to being with my daughter. I didn't know what that was like, and I struggled through it. But I just made a promise to myself that I was going to be there for my child. And so that looked like paying child support and every other weekend. And it was slow going. I'm not going to say I jumped in and was just like #1 dad. It was a big learning curve. And
Did you ever come close to bailing out, promise or no to yourself? Did it ever get so hard that you just about thought about leaving?
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm honest, there was a point. There was one day where I was like, this is really, really hard. I'm glad I didn't.
Well, Devin, you are 18 years old, right?
Correct.
And you have a son who's how old and what's his name?
His name is Zachary, and he is a year old.
I bet you have pictures too. I'm going to ask you for pictures later.
Of course.
Tell us about the experience of finding out that you were going to be a father. What was that all like?
Mind-blowing. It was very difficult at first. I struggled with a lot of things, but all in all, I just knew that being a dad was the right thing for me, and it wasn't really a struggle after that.
I got to think that at the very start, there had to be some impulse to run.
To be completely honest, I think everyone at first has that impulse to run away and take the easy way out. Especially, I mean, I was in high school, wasn't doing too well, didn't have a job, no car, and it was just a big change, like you said. But it was also, it changed me, you know.
How?
It emotionally changed me. It made me love something more than I loved myself. It gave me that kind of sense of purpose.
Did that come pretty much the first time you saw Zachary?
Yeah, in the hospital. It was amazing. I mean, me and the mom are very close, and we talk to her stomach and, you know, try and create a relationship through that. And then when he was born, it was just absolutely the best part of my life, you know.
Can you tell us pretty specifically how this program helped you? What difference did it make?
It made me feel like I matter. It definitely, I mean, all the statistics about how dads really are important in a child's life and how I need to be there because this, and this. I mean, it didn't give me the option to run away. It gave me options of how to do better. It's good to have an outlet of someone who knows a little bit more.
Do you call your mentor sometimes when you're feeling close to the edge?
Well, if I don't know what to do, I need help, I'm going to call someone, and, you know, I'll call my mentor or my mom, but sometimes you can't get a hold of her, and he's always there for me.
So after a year of being a dad, what is the hardest part?
Just figuring out, financial stuff and starting them a college fund and going through all of this. You know, it's just taking life on really young. It makes it difficult.
You got a college fund started, huh?
Yeah.
That is impressive. What's the best? What's the best part?
Definitely watching him grow. I mean, seeing the development, it's just amazing. He can walk and talk, and he throws little fits sometimes, and even though I have to teach him that's not okay, it's still kind of cute, you know.
Do you remember a first word? What was a first word or two?
Dad.
Well, that's not too shabby, huh?
Yeah.
What is your situation right now? I wonder how you're getting along, covering the basics, and I wonder how confident you are that you can do a good job raising Zachary all the way through.
Well, right now I am currently in college. I have a part-time job, and I'm also trying to become a police officer, and I figured the best way to do that would be joining the cadet program. So I have an interview tomorrow for that, and I'm fairly confident.
Is there anything at all you would like to say to young dads out there who may be struggling?
My best advice to you would be to just hang in there, and you really do matter, you know? You really matter, and you need to stay there with your kid, and whatever situation you're in, it's probably different than mine, but my best advice would be treat your woman like a queen and raise that baby.
And find support if you don't have enough already.
Yeah, definitely support is a big deal. My supportive family helps out a lot, but even that's not enough. I need, some guy help. And Squires definitely is helping with that.
Shane, how do you measure what kind of impact you're having with this program? How do you know you're doing something good here?
When I even just look at my own personal story, I didn't realize how much that impact that guy that was my mentor had on me until 5 years later. But what I would say is that the fact that I'm getting calls and texts at 3 in the morning or 8 in the morning from guys that maybe I met them once, 6 months ago, and I haven't seen them again, but they hold on my number. It stays in their wallet, and when they need help, they reach back out.
So you're sort of the all-purpose backup mentor. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And they keep showing up. When we have these workshops, a lot of times at the end of the workshop, I'm chasing the guy out the door saying, hey, you forgot your $40 gift card. Or they're coming up and saying, so do we get to do this again next weekend?
Well, Shane, you're getting these calls at 3 in the morning. Mm-hmm. You got your own life. You're trying to make a living, presumably, somehow.
Yes.
You've been doing this a while. Why? What keeps you fueled up and going?
It's kind of hard to answer, but easy to answer. Part of it is just my faith. Like, my faith in God tells me that love people because people matter. It also has to do with that someone took their time and energy and let me know that I mattered, 22 years ago. There should never be shame surrounding the birth of a child, right? Mm-hmm. And so I want kids to know they are awesome too. Mm-hmm. I don't know, there's just so much joy. I get to go to weddings, I get to go to first birthdays, I get to go to births. There's a lot of exciting stuff. I see a lot of sad, heartbreaking stuff too, but man, the celebration of life is it's unexplainable. What
could you use to make Squires more effective?
Well, with any nonprofit, it's always the same, more funding. So that's huge. And the other piece would just be more honorable men to step up and say, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and I want to mentor. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to be vulnerable and say, I'm going to support a young man who's struggling, because I know what it's like. It's kind of hard at any age to be a father.
Does it take much training?
Yeah, we do a 7-hour training, and we provide lunch, and it's a good time. And then we also are always available for additional support.
What do you think, Shane, is the immense possibility of the work that you do?
I think the immense possibility is, first of all, that we stop the expectation ends of expecting young fathers to leave. And the other piece of that is that young fathers know that they matter. They really matter. They're so much more than a dollar sign. They're that comforting voice that reads stories at the end of the night. They are the person that picks them up when they're hurt, the children. They understand how valuable they are to the livelihood of their children.
What would it take to scale this program up? It seems like every community could really use something like this. What's in the way of getting this to really spread far and wide?
People, just manpower, and then the funding piece. But it's really not that hard of a concept. There are some communities now that are coming to me and saying, how can I duplicate this in my area?
Shane Sowards and Devin Thompson, thanks for coming to tell us about Squires. Thanks for the work that you're all doing. It's really inspiring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The best advice that someone's given me was my mom. She told me, just because I made, the wrong choice to have sex too early, to become sexually active too early, to not use protection, doesn't mean that I have to let that, ruin the rest of my life. I have to pick up, the trouble that I made. I have to pick it up, and I have to keep going. I have to, change into something better. I can't sit around and let that stop me from growing.
Let's check in with another community program that's helping troubled men become really good fathers. It is the Medford-based Addiction Treatment Center On Track. And with me now are Travis Cavalli, who is the program director of On Track's Dads program, and Toby Price, one of his clients and the father of 3. Gents, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Yeah. So, Travis, tell us what the Dads program is.
It is a residential treatment facility that we primarily treat addiction for fathers and their children. It's a 10-bed facility, and we have anywhere from 8 to 12 kids in there at a time with their dads. It's unique in that the fathers get to bring their kids into treatment with them, and they don't have to separate the parent from the child. to treat their addiction.
Do the kids just come in during the daytime, or are they there overnight too?
All overnight. During the daytime, they go to daycare up at our sister program, the home program, otherwise known as the mom's program, so the dads can do treatment. And then they come back before dinner in the afternoon, and the dads do all the day-to-day things to take care of their children and actually father them. And for the most part, it's people whose life have come to a point where they were struggling so mightily that their state had to intervene and DHS had to enter their life and say, either you need to do something about this or we're going to take your kids from you.
Toby, tell us a little bit of your story, your addiction, your children, what you're doing to pull this all together.
I started using meth when I was like 14. I remember going to school and putting my backpack on the desk just so I could chop a line and do drugs at school. So I started really young.
Really?
Yeah, and I had my first kid when I was 19, 20, my son, and I missed most of my older kids, their lives because of drug addiction. And you know, I wish I would have found the dad's program back then, because then I could have been a better father to my oldest kids. You know, because I mean, I'm doing it now because I was falling back into my old routines, my old habits. My girlfriend that I love very much right now, and we plan on, you know, being together for quite a while. When she seen me slipping back into my old habits, because I've known her for 14, 15 years, she told me if I wanted to save our relationship that I was going to go do inpatient treatment.
What is it that works about the dad's program, at least for you?
The fact that you can have your kids there, that was a big thing, because I think for a lot of people, they don't want to be away from their children, you know, and I think it's a real good thing that you can have your kids there and you can still have involvement in your kid's life.
So is there a big incentive that can help recovering guys get over the hump to know that they have a chance to be with their kids? Is that a big piece of all this?
I think it is. I think it's there's a lot of other treatment programs, and I know a lot of people that have been through other treatment programs and it hasn't worked for them. And I've known a lot of people that have went through the dad's program and they're still clean and sober today and they're doing great.
So there is some traditional thinking out there that you don't let kids stay with parents who've been seriously addicted. You're just taking too big a chance with the kid's safety to do that. And really, best of luck to you guys, but we got to get the kids out of there. What would you say to somebody who feels that way?
Just because people are addicted to drugs doesn't mean they're a bad person, and I don't think it means they don't deserve their kids or have the right to be around their kids, because every kid needs their mother and their father. You know, every child should have their mother and father in their life in one way or another. And just because people make bad decisions in their lives, I don't think it's right to strip them of their children or the children from their parents.
It's traumatizing for a parent to be ripped away from their child, and that trauma is definitely a nexus for drug use. So if you rip somebody's child away from them and then ask them to stop the only thing that they know how to deal with life with, it's a maladaptive coping pattern, but it's all they have is to use drugs to numb themselves, and you cause this immense amount of pain by ripping their child away from them and say, hey, now you got to get clean and stop using drugs. It's an unrealistic expectation.
Well, it seems like the majority of treatment facilities haven't quite figured that out yet.
There's a lot of danger in bringing kids into residential treatment with criminals and drug addicts. It's a risk.
Have there been any real bad outcomes at On Track from having kids in the facility?
Not that I'm aware of, not since I've been there.
What opportunities do you have for people who might want to volunteer to help you out?
More need that we would have is other recovering men, our fathers, that are willing to kind of mentor our dads as they go back into society. Because a piece of addiction is a lot of these people don't get a lot of the basic life skills, going to work 9 to 5, just being a part of community. Their whole life is so enmeshed in drug and addiction and crime that they don't know how to do life without it.
So that missing piece, there can be some really good work done in treatment facilities, but when they get out, when they walk out the door, that's where the challenge can really start.
Overwhelming.
Yeah. What do you get out of this work, Travis? What's in it for you?
I get to see fathers become daddies. I get to see kids light up as their dad is back in their life. I get to see real change in our community. People who are taking away from our community, giving back to our community now. I get to make a difference every day.
Toby, let me ask you, what do you see for yourself and your family, your daughter, your young daughter, a year from now, 5 years from now, as you look down the road?
I'm going to go back to school. I'm probably going to still stay in the construction thing, but there's other things I want to do to help other people in the community. You know what I mean? Now I've been talking with my girlfriend too. You know, we have a H&I panel that comes through the DADS program. It's hospitals and institutions, got other people that have been through treatment programs, even the DADS program, and they come and talk to us and tell their story and stuff. I plan on getting on that panel. I'd like to go to schools and talk to kids to, you know, and tell them, you know, drugs, you know, is just not the way to go. And I'm gonna go back to college for a while, and I have a lot of goals and plans now.
Well, I really admire the path you're on now. It takes a lot of strength. Good work.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, Travis, what is the immense possibility of the work that you're doing?
The immense possibility, I think, is that we can change the future for these guys' children. The statistics are out there, and a kid without a father in their life has a pretty slim chance of being successful for the most part. It really inhibits their ability to move forward for whatever reason. A father is very important. And I think there's a false impression that fathers don't nurture their children and love their children, and that's just not the case. They're nurturing, loving, and every bit as important as the mother, and if we can get them in there, then these kids' life can be changed.
Toby Bryce and Travis Cavalli of On Track, thank you both for really important work you're doing and for coming in and tell us about it on Immense Possibilities.
Thanks for having us.
In our episode on community groups working to end bullying of our kids, we featured an innovative Southern Oregon program called The Edge, which sends teams of adult volunteers into schools to challenge students to new levels of openness, along with the courage to understand their own struggles and how similar they are to the hidden fears and struggles of the kids all around them. We talked then to the founder of The Edge, Grant Williams.
We need to get out on the edge and do innovative things that have not been tried before, and we need to do it from a perspective of listening to them and making them feel heard and felt because we care about them.
Back with me now is the founder and initial organizer of The Edge, Grant Williams. And just a disclosure, Grant has been a contributor to the IP Production Fund. Grant, welcome back to Immense Possibilities.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you, Jeff.
Give us a refresher about The Edge. What is it you're doing there?
So it's not about their schoolwork, it's about their emotional intelligence and emotional literacy. And when they start to become authentic and vulnerable, magic happens and they connect with each other in ways that strengthens their relationships, takes a lot of them out of isolation, and they begin to mature in a much better way.
What is it about this that gets kids to take risks, to open up in ways they probably haven't, at least in that kind of public setting before?
It gives kids a chance to empathize with each other and realize that vulnerability is power, it's not weakness. It makes them connect with each other in deeper ways to where when they come to school, they can look forward to it instead of being afraid because of their gender, their ethnicity, their religion. About a year ago, our executive director was having lunch in a local pizzeria. And a young boy from a local high school approached him and started thanking him profusely for coming to the school. And Wayne was very grateful and said, well, I'm appreciative of you doing that. Thanks for being there for us. And he said, no, this is not about me. This is about my best friend. You saved his life. You guys that came to our school saved his life because he was on the verge of committing suicide probably within that week. And because of the event that you brought to us, knowing that you come there from the heart and don't charge us any money, that got him to thinking about his behavior, and he changed overnight. And he's with us now, and he's much better off for it, and thank you very much for what you're doing. That is a true story, and it's happened more than once, because a lot of these kids are on the edge, no pun intended, and we need to be very sensitive to their needs, and who knows what it was like for one of them to get up on that particular morning. Yeah. So we're very aware of the trouble they're in, and that's why we provide this service.
Why do you keep pouring so much personal energy into The Edge?
It makes me feel like I have a reason to breathe. It's my mission in life, and the people on board feel the same way. It's just a great way to live out the remaining years of my life, and this is what I want to do. This is my plan.
Grant Williams, thanks for what you're doing. It is making a big difference. It is immense. Appreciate it. Thanks for telling us about it on Immense Possibilities.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And as we close tonight's edition, I want you to know about a new segment that you'll be seeing later in the season. It's called IP Filmworks. We put out the call for short original videos that showcase an immense possibility we may not have heard of, perhaps even the emergence of a young, creative, and passionate storytelling voice. If you know an aspiring filmmaker, send them for information to our website at immensepossibilities.org. You can also visit our Facebook page and like and share us there. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Jeff Golden. Till next time, please do what you can do. Thanks for watching to learn about tonight's immense possibility. You can watch any of our past programs anytime at immensepossibilities.org.
The SLU House experience is really an opportunity for students to get out of the classroom and engage the community in solving real-world problems.
Houses are about a spirit of adventure. Maybe that's rafting or building a house, but it's also about the adventure of figuring out what comes next.
Get involved, make a difference in the world.
Get connected, join a house.